Hi, I'm Hazy, and I have bad news. But before I share it, please like this video. It will improve my mood and help me cope with the fact my older sis Hayley is coming here for her vacation. She'd moved from us long ago. She's an archaeologist and travels around the world looking for antiquities. As a sis, she's okay, but our parents complain to her all the time I'm not helping around the house. Now she comes and the three of them start pressing me again. But it's really hard for me to get down to cleaning the house and washing the dishes. I prefer reading mythology books to everything else. Those are way more interesting. Oh, the doorbell rings. Hayley's come. Wish me luck. During the family dinner, my sis was telling us about her job, and our parents were somewhat savoring her words. As about me, I dreamed of finishing this dinner and going to read. Well, I'm off. Mom, Dad, Hayley, love you. What do you mean, do the dishes? Let Hayley wash them. Mom irritably said Hayley was a guest and I should have been more polite. I had to wash it all, so I did quickly and ran to my room. Percy Jackson was waiting for me there. In 2 hours, Hayley came to my room. Just don't start this all over about my behavior and so on, please. I'm hearing this every day. But to my surprise, my sis was smiling and had some old book in her hands. A month ago, she went for an archaeological dig somewhere in Greece. It was a good one. They found ancient vases, household items and so on. But there was this strange book too. Their ancient languages translator claimed the book told of someone called Cleaner who tortured people from dirty houses. He was supposed to come and warn them with knocks on the doors and windows, and if even one room remained untidy, he returned and took the person away to some unknown place. The signal he was coming for you were 5 knocks in a row. It was possible to protect your house from him, but the spell never was translated. Why wasn't it translated, Hayley? The translator just vanished on the last day of their work. He wasn't at home, nor at hospital, nor even in the mortuary. What's this nonsense? Do you really believe that? Hayley gave me the strange book and said I must have been very cautious. After the analysis, Hayley was about to return the book to the archive safe and sound. The book was indeed very old, and it was fascinating and mysterious. I listed the pages carefully, and then suddenly... What was that? Sis, did you hear that? Stop telling me creepy stories before bed. And come on, our house is tidy. As about the dishes, you know, Mom is mad not because of the dishes. She can wash them perfectly herself. She's just tired after work, and Dad's too, so they lash out on me. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just interested in parallel worlds, quantum jumps and so on, not cleaning. So while you are here, I hope you'll help Mom and Dad. And now it's time for me to read and then go to bed. In the morning, I heard a vivid convo in the kitchen. Hayley was frying pancakes and repeated something about baggage and taxi. Are you leading? Mom was so happy she couldn't even explain it to me. I understood Hayley booked a week in an all-inclusive spa hotel for Mom and Dad. Wow, how cool! We had breakfast together, and then Dad asked me to do the dishes. Here we go again. Let the one who cooked do it. Mom started shouting I lost all respect for them and behaved awfully. Okay, just stop yelling. Just as I see you off, I'll wash the dishes. Our parents left. Yahoo! For a whole week, no one will scold me or tell anything bad. Sis, you're responsible for the morning dishes. Well, and all the other dishes too. Love you! Come later to show me your ancient book again. And by the way, that translator must have been really untidy if the cleaner had taken him. He's littered his entire tent, Hayley exclaimed. There was such a chaos. Hayley, then you'd better clean everything as soon as possible. I turned the page eagerly. Percy and Groover were coming from school, but their bus suddenly broke right near a fruit stall. There were 3 weird old ladies sitting in rocking chairs in the shadow, knitting one big sock together. Percy looked at them, trying to figure out whom they reminded him of, until one of the ladies took huge scissors and cut the thread with a scowl. Oh, how terrible! Percy understood who was in front of him. Those creatures had just taken someone's life. Suddenly someone knocked on my window 2 times and I screamed in surprise. "Sis, is that you?" The door opened and Hayley entered with her phone, talking to Mom. Our parents had reached the hotel. "Phew, you've scared the hell out of me. I was lost in my book and then something hit the window and it nearly shed bricks." But my sister seemed not to listen and scolded me for how untidy my room was. That night, I had a nightmare of the cleaner standing at the head of my bed and knocking on the wall first 1 time, then 2 times. And I wanted to wake up, but couldn't. So does it mean I only have to hear 3 knocks, then 4 and 5 now? No, that's all fantasy. But on the other hand, the old ladies in the book looked ordinary too, but they had taken someone's life. That's a fact. In the morning, I asked Hayley if that translator was looked for, and she told their group went to the police right the day he vanished, and a month passed since then, but there were no clues. A person disappeared without a trace, so the best specialists were involved in the investigation, but no evidence had been found since. Then someone knocked on the door 3 times. Oh my, who's there? Did our parents come back? Hayley looked through the peephole, but saw no one. "Sis, it seems something's wrong here. Your book starts to come true." When you brought it to my room and read, I heard a loud knock, remember? Yesterday I was reading and heard 2 knocks on my window before you came into my room talking to Mom, and now there were 3 knocks on the door, but no one stood behind it. What if this book is dangerous and you shouldn't carry it with you? Maybe you should return it to the place where it rested for centuries. Hayley stared at me and said we had to clean the house as soon as possible. Come on, everything's all right, look. The kitchen is tidy, the sitting room is fine too, and as about my room, well, I've only got a couple of things out of place. While I was saying this, I heard strange scraping from above, and then steps. Hayley, do you hear that? Someone's moving in my room on the 2nd floor. Please call the police or the rescue service. My sis ran to the phone, and that moment someone loudly knocked on the door 4 times. That's the end, Hayley. There's only 1 final knock left before the cleaner takes me. I fell on the floor and cried my eyes out until Hayley said it was all a joke. Wait, what joke? It turned out she invented this book and printed a pack of old-looking notes in a weird language in a typography. She wanted to wean me once and for all to live in chaos and to make me help Mom more. She'd recorded the knocks with her smartphone and played them through a Bluetooth speaker. Have you lost your mind or what? I've nearly died. But when I came to my senses, surely I laughed loudly. That was some invention of yours. I'd never think something like that out myself. Okay, sis, I promise I'll help Mom and Dad more and won't be that keen on mythology anymore. We hugged each other and immediately heard 5 knocks on the door. We laughed even more. Well, let's go and have a look at this cleaner. Did you like the video? Subscribe and give us a like. Support the channel. Thanks.
I stopped by my house, but there was no one there. That's strange. Where is everyone? It's my birthday. I didn't recognize anything around me. The furniture was covered with white sheets, and the only sound was the ominous ticking of the clock. As if no one had lived here for a long time. Where did everyone disappear to? I went through all the rooms on the 1st floor, but my parents were nowhere to be found. I called them non-stop, but I heard over and over again, the number is unavailable. Mom, Dad, where are you? Trying not to shiver, I climbed the stairs to my room, but when I went in, I just didn't recognize it. Where are my things? There was a strange backpack against the wall, and unfamiliar posters hung on the walls. Then I noticed our family photo on the nightstand, but when I got closer, I was horrified. There was a completely different girl next to my parents and sister. Where am I? Tears welled up in my eyes. It's like I was wiped out of their life, and this was on my birthday. The day before, I invited my boyfriend Yu on a quest. I just adored them. I was constantly looking for thrills. Once I even jumped into a pit with snakes. That was a drive. But I had already been to all the quests in the city, and this time, I didn't expect anything special, but this was a chance to mend fences with you. We became very distant lately. We even talked less. Sometimes I thought he was going to dump me, but this evening was supposed to remind us how good and fun we could be together. The quest took place in some basement, and we went there. The management wished us a hell of an adventure, and we went down the stairs. I was hoping it would be a little scary, but it was a complete failure. The props were pathetic. Some sausage guts, plastic knives covered in paint. And on the way out, they hung an inflatable ghost. Are you serious? Just like a kid's matinee. I laughed and turned to you, but he wasn't there. Are you kidding? He was standing here a minute ago. Suddenly, I noticed the torn bracelet on the floor. I gave it to you for our anniversary. It seemed that our relationship was completely destroyed. You just ran away from me. I was very hurt because I loved you. Why did he do that? Completely heartbroken, I went outside and trudged home. While I was on the quest, my parents were busy preparing for the holiday. I was expecting balloons and gifts, but it was very quiet inside the house, except for the lonely ticking of the clock. Maybe it was a surprise, but I went all over the house and found no one. Not my father, not my mother, not my oldest sister, Joanna. Where could they have gone? I tried to call them, but every time I heard, the number is unavailable. The house itself looked eerie. The furniture was covered with white sheets, as if no one had lived there for a long time. I went up the stairs to my room, but stopped dead in my tracks. Everything here was different. There were some strange things. A backpack, posters. Whose were they? I tossed around the room completely at a loss, and then I noticed a photo. My whole family was hugging some girl. But that's impossible. It should be me. Horrified, I staggered back and dropped the photo to the floor. The glass shattered with a crash. It was like a terrible nightmare. There was no sign that I had ever lived here in the house. Instead of my favorite chair, books, awards, I found pictures of that girl and unfamiliar things everywhere. Had I lost my mind? My family still did not return calls. Gosh, what if something had happened to them? Then, I remembered that my friend's uncle Chris was a police officer. Maybe he could help me. I called Chris, and after a long time, she answered. Hi, Chris. It's Sarah. I gave her a quick description of the situation, and Chris said she knew something. The fact was that my family... She fell silent. Not again. Chris! Are you here? I shouted, but it was useless. The signal went dead. My breath caught in my throat. So Chris knew where everyone had gone. I immediately rushed to her house. I pounded on the door with my fists long and hard. No one answered me. As a result, a neighbor came out of the house opposite. You shouldn't be knocking. There's been no one here for a year. She grumbled. Where did Chris go? The neighbor replied that she moved out after the death of her friend. The old woman slammed the door. I didn't understand anything. Chris didn't have any friends, just me. But I was not dead. Chris, open up now. This isn't funny. I shouted, pounding on her door even harder. And then my older sister called. Thank God, but Joanne was so distant. Hello? I have a missed call from you. Did you call? Hey, Joanne, it's me, Sarah. But my sister started screaming that I was a liar. Her sister had been dead for a year. It didn't make sense. Joanne, I'm here. I'm alive. But she wasn't listening. Joanne accused me of being involved in the death of Sarah. Her sister, in a voice mad with anger, she threatened that I would answer for everything. I frantically hung up. Joanne kept calling, but I was already so scared that I didn't pick up the phone. And suddenly, I felt that someone was watching me. I turned around, but there was no one around. I was shaking with fear, like I was in a horror movie. This wasn't the kind of 20th birthday I dreamed of. Not knowing where else to go, I went home again. It was late at night when I reached my home, which seemed even more alien in the dark. I was afraid to go in. Then I noticed a light in my room. Someone was back. Delighted, I was already running into the porch when the door creaked open. It was Joanne. She grinned maliciously, saying that it was good that I came to her myself. "You will answer to me for Sarah's death." Joanne suddenly screamed and threw herself at me. I ran in a panic. What kind of trash is going on? "Joanne, come to your senses. I'm your sister." But Joanne would drive me into narrow alleys and scream that I couldn't get away from her. Oh my god. I tried to call for help, but there wasn't a soul on the street. And then I saw a sign that there was a 24-hour coffee shop nearby. With the last of my strength, I rushed there. I ran to the entrance and yanked the handle, but it wouldn't budge. And then I saw a sign on the door that said, "We moved." It was all over. I looked back. I could already see the ominous silhouette of Joanne in the light of the lantern. Damn, I'm done. But then I noticed the same quest where I was with you. The basement door was ajar. This was my chance. I quickly ran inside and barricaded the door. But Joanne was pounding madly at it. I prayed the door would hold. It bent more and more from her attacks. It seemed that the hinges were about to fly out. A few minutes later, Joanne was quiet. Was she gone? But just as I let out a sigh of relief, I heard a deafening crash. Joanne smashed the door with her foot. Splinters flew at me, and Joan's crazy face appeared in the hole with a twisted smile. Terrified, I raced through the dark basement corridors. I heard that Joanne was already inside, following me closely. In desperation, I looked around and shouted for help, but no one answered. Suddenly, I hit a wall. What should I do next? Joanne was already close. I had nowhere to run, and then I saw the closet. This was my last hope. I climbed into it and sat there, trying not to breathe, but I'd already heard Joanne come into the room. "Come out! I know you're here," she ordered. Then I heard slow footsteps approaching. I couldn't move in horror. Suddenly, the closet door swung open. "Please don't!" I screamed hysterically. At that moment, I was blinded by a flash of bright light. Opening my eyes with difficulty, I saw my parents, all my friends, Chris, and you. "Happy birthday!" Everyone shouted cheerfully in unison. Joanne winked. It turned out that you had long ago persuaded her to arrange a unique quest for me, so I was wrong to suspect. And you really loved me since he planned it all. He persuaded everyone. I love thrills so much. So, it was a hoax? I almost passed out from fear. I wanted to shout out what I should do with them for such jokes. But suddenly, my vision went dark, and the basement seemed to spin in front of me. I began to choke and lose consciousness. I barely opened my eyes. Where am I? What's going on? Then the doctor came up to me and said that I was in the hospital. I was brought here by ambulance. I felt very weak. Was I terminally ill? But the doctor reassured me that it was a faint, and now everything was fine. I was just very scared. "You better cross-stitch and not go on quests," he joked. The doctor said I had a weak heart. Fortunately, I did have a heart attack. I felt very sad that I had brought myself to this state. In an attempt to tickle my nerves, I completely forgot about real life. That's it. No more horrors. At this point, anxious friends and family trooped into my room. They had gifts in their hands, and you even brought me a bouquet of my favorite flowers. "Thank you," I said wearily. This is the 20th birthday I will never forget.